On July 9th, Morocco will face France in a World Cup quarterfinal, and one player on that pitch has turned this from a football match into something else entirely. An 18-year-old midfielder that France spent 13 years developing and lost 1 month before the tournament. At 15, he was winning a public speaking competition inside the Élysée Palace. At 16, he broke a record that had stood for nearly half a century. At 17, on his own birthday, he beat Real Madrid. And at 18, he made Carlo Ancelotti pull Casemiro off the pitch at halftime of a World Cup match. His name is Ayyoub Bouaddi, and in this video, I'll show you how the son of a handball player from a small town north of Paris became the most talked about teenager in world football. Why France waited while Morocco moved, and what one photograph from the 2018 World Cup has to do with all of it. But this story starts in a place most football fans have never heard of. Lille, a working-class town about 50 kilometers north of Paris. The deputy mayor there was a man named Ayyoub Bouaddi, a former handball player who'd gone into banking and who spent his time in office making sure local kids had somewhere to play sport. On the 2nd of October 2007, in the nearby town of Lille, his son was born. And in that household, one rule was never up for debate. Sport is wonderful, but school comes first. At 5 years old, Ayyoub started playing for the local club, AFC Lille. Around the same time, he skipped a grade at school. Hold on to that detail. Because while the usual Wonderkids are being scooped up by academy giants at 7 or 8, Bouaddi was still playing amateur football and solving math problems meant for kids a year older. Lille's academy didn't sign him until 2021. He was almost 14. By the standards of modern football, that is late. Almost unheard of late, which makes what happened next borderline unbelievable. August 2023, his first professional contract at 15. October 5th of that same year, his senior debut for Lille in the Conference League against Faroese side Klaksvik. Bouaddi was 16 years and 3 days old, the youngest player ever to appear in a European club competition. Ever. Full stop. Along the way, he shattered a Lille club record that had stood since 1978. His coach, Paulo Fonseca, summed it up in one sentence: "We have discovered a player for the future." 17 days later, the player for the future was already making his League One debut, the youngest player in the French top flight since 1981. But his strangest trophy that year didn't come on a pitch. In June 2023, a 15-year-old Bouaddi won a national public speaking competition for players from French football academies. The final was held inside the Élysée Palace, with Brigitte Macron in the audience. And here's the part that matters. The topic of his winning speech was this: does the result matter more than the manner? Remember that question. It's coming back, on the biggest stage in world football. Then comes the chapter that reads like a movie script. October 2nd, 2024. Bouaddi turns 17, and on that exact day, Lille host a Champions League match against Real Madrid, against Bellingham, Valverde, Camavinga. The teenager starts, completes 43 of his 44 passes, and Lille beat the reigning champions of Europe 1-0. After the final whistle, the entire stadium sings him happy birthday. 17 years old, Real Madrid, a win. You could not write it better. By January 2026, he'd become the youngest player in Lille's history to reach 50 League One appearances. And the record he broke? It belonged to Eden Hazard. And this is where the story was supposed to follow the script. Bouaddi had come up through every French youth team. He even captained the under-21s. The path seemed obvious. Another French Wonderkid, wait a couple of years, and Didier Deschamps calls him into the senior squad. France was in no hurry. Why rush when the player is already yours? Except for one detail. Bouaddi's parents are Moroccan, and Morocco had no intention of waiting. National team coach Mohamed Wabi later admitted it took a whole series of meetings to convince him. In May 2026, 1 month before the World Cup, FIFA approved his change of allegiance. France spent 13 years raising him. Morocco claimed him weeks before the biggest tournament on the planet. And after his debut, one photograph set social media on fire. The 2018 World Cup, somewhere in the stands. a 10-year-old boy watching the game, wearing a Morocco shirt. That boy was Ayyoub Bouaddi. Turns out the choice had been made long before any federation picked up the phone. June 13th, New Jersey. Morocco's opening match of the World Cup. The opponent? Brazil. And the 18-year-old debutant simply takes ownership of midfield. 87 touches, more than any other Morocco player, including Hakimi. 91% passing accuracy, not dribbled past a single time. And Casemiro, a 5-time Champions League winner, looks so lost next to him that Ancelotti hauled the Brazilian off at halftime. The match finished 1-1, but nobody was talking about Vinicius or Brazil's stars afterwards. Olivier Giroud said on air that his friends were comparing the kid to Patrick Vieira and Sergio Busquets at the same time. Remember the question from the Élysée Palace? What matters more, the result or the manner? Against Brazil, he answered it on the pitch. It turns out you can take both. From there, Morocco caught fire. 4-2 against Haiti and through the group. Then the drama against the Netherlands. Diop's equalizer deep in stoppage time, a penalty shootout, a save from Bounou, and Morocco survived. Then 3-0 against Canada, the tournament co-hosts, and into the quarterfinals. Bouaddi started every single match. At 18, he's no longer a revelation. He's the system. Which brings us to the final twist, the one fate seems to have been writing this whole story towards. July 9th, the quarterfinal. Morocco versus France. Deschamps against the player he never called up. The shirt Bouaddi wore through his entire youth career, against the boy from that 2018 photograph. Not long ago, Lille valued him at over 50 million euros. Now the press is throwing around numbers twice that size. So here's the question I'm leaving with you. Did France just make the biggest mistake of the decade by taking Bouaddi for granted? And if Morocco knock out France, can they go even further than that legendary run in Qatar? Drop your prediction for July 9th in the comments. And if you want more stories from this World Cup, they're already waiting for you on this channel.